Hey YouTube, it's Jared here, coming at you from the hot and humid south here at Greensboro, North Carolina in the Self-Reliance Essentials shop. I'm standing here in front of what I call my Omnivore sharpening system, but it's actually a rotary table and it has several different features that I used to do a certain job, and now I'm using it for this job, which is sharpening Tomahawk underhooks. Normally what I do is I try to remember to sharpen both sides mostly before I put the coatings on, but I was in a hurry and so I forgot to do that on some of these. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the Dynafile, which has a custom modified tool arm for the Dynafile. But basically I bought the longest one they have and then I cut it down to fit the 1 by 30 inch belts, which I have to split in half so they're 1/2 inch by 30 inch. And that allows me to get inside of the underhook, and I actually made a little hard steel platen for the underside of this Dynafile, and I put a carbidized coating on it to keep it from wearing. So the way I'm going to do this, it's got a foot valve down below where I turn the air on to this tool. Got the tool handle zip tied open. So that way what I can do is just put both hands on this apparatus, use my foot to turn on the Dynafile, which is at a low speed so that I don't burn anything up, get the edge too hot. And then what I do is I just sort of get the file running and spin the Tomahawk around the cutting edge, or around the belt. There's a little flex in this system, but it does the job. Anyway, about a 40-degree included angle on the underhook, as close as I can manage with a little gauge block. So this is what it sounds like. So, once we get a nice concentric arc of shiny steel with this probably worn out 120 grit belt, I'm trying to get a new one started. I switch up to a 5 micron belt, which is not an intermediate step, but it does the job. And then I do the same thing again, polish that surface. So basically you have to do that 4 times. So they've got the underhook edge, underspike edge on one side, and then flip it over, do it again. So I've got 2 belt changes per hook, and sometimes I'll rotate the Tomahawk before I move my pins, so that way I don't have to do as many belt changes. But anyway, looks like I'm going to flip it over and cut a little more material on the other side, and I'll save that for off camera. But anyway, you get the idea about how the underhooks are sharpened. This is also the same method I use to clean up the machining marks on the underhooks as well. So and then in the future we may move away from going to that trouble, or I'm hoping to actually make a new, more powerful overhead gantry system a more rigid gantry system that will operate a small wheel grinder, so that as I spin the Tomahawk around, it'll actually be the drum spinning down in this hole instead of a belt that's moving perpendicular to the edge. So that way we'll be able to do all the roughing of that, that grinding operation in a concentric arc, so it'll look really pretty. And then maybe to do the final sharpening, we might go back to this so we can get a little bit of a toothy edge in there. So Anubis tomahawks, the 3B variant, the ETA variant of our tomahawks are all sharpened this way. Now, I used to do it by hand. So a lot of cool stuff you can do with a rotary table. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video, and look forward to more manufacturing tips such as this in the future. Thanks for watching.